The New York Mets have broken MLB this week by making multiple moves and launching themselves back into a World Series contention. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet. I'm Anna Peddle, joined alongside by Nicholas Blaylock. Literally, probably 2-3 weeks ago, we were talking about the Mets, and I was saying, man, they really need to go get a frontline starter. I like what they're doing. You know, they're trying to do something offensively, like maybe they're trying to do a bit of a retool, but it's not going to work if you want to win a World Series or go back to the playoffs. Then they go at Bo Bichette. Then they add Luis Robert, and then they add Freddy Peralta late last night, and my goodness, now things have completely changed. We're going to break down the roster and discuss whether we think it's good enough to go back to the World Series. Before we do, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. Let's get right into the move that happened last night. This was a shocker for many fans. They did not want to stop these New York Mets. They go and get Freddy Peralta from the Brewers. Side note about the Brewers, this is what the Brewers fucking do, dude. They do it all the time.
No, it's actually like, it's genuinely frustrating. How could you possibly be a Milwaukee fan? You just won the division commandingly, and you trade away maybe not your best player, but arguably your best player, right? Like,
it's inevitable every time, man. Like every time the Brewers just can't. They know they cannot pay him. They know they have to trade him, and they have to go get a pretty decent haul back, and they did. They got their, I believe, number 3 prospect right here, Jet Williams, and the number 5 prospect on the New York Mets, Brandon Sproat. And Jet Williams was a top 100 prospect in MLB, so they got a decent haul back. And they also got this other guy named Tobias Myers.
The Mets did.
Yeah, the Mets did, exactly. Tobias Myers, that's pretty decent. He's had 2 years in the big leagues, a smaller sample size, 180 innings total for him, whip of 1.224, ERA of 3.15. He started some games. He can come out of the pen, but again, just a guy with a lot of different options in that utility belt. So honestly, not only do you get a decent, a decent guy in an elite guy in Freddy Peralta, but you also get Tobias Myers. So pretty good haul for the Mets, I'd say.
I'd say that this is a great deal for New York. We didn't really know what the direction of their team was for a while because they were all quiet for a little bit there on the free agency market, and then things started ramping up with the Kyle Tucker stuff, and it felt like, oh man, the New York Mets might swoop in, get Kyle Tucker, and they're all the way back, and they lost him to LA. And that was the inciting incident here where then Steve Cohen woke up again and it's like, oh no, we're going out, we're doing a bunch of stuff, and he goes, and him and David Stearns go and get Bo Bichette, which is a massive overpay, by the way, but still very good baseball player, going to help them. They get Robert Jr., and then they go and they get their frontline starter, man. And this is a frontline starter, a 2.7 ERA last year, 17 wins, 5.5 WAR, 176 innings to his name in a contract year. So you're expecting to see him like at his peak of his talents. This is the type of guy that we were saying that they were missing for a while, because when you look over at that roster, it is starting to look so much more complete right now. We'll talk about the lineup in a second, but first let's take a look at that pitching staff. Initially, it was Nolan McLean, who is their number 1 prospect. Really exciting, really tantalizing guy right there. Had a 2.06 ERA in a small sample size, so you're excited about him. But to thrust him into the ace role immediately, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have to do that anymore. He's situated behind Freddy Peralta, and when you look at that roster as a whole, that rotation as a whole, it's starting to look relatively deep.
Again, they needed to add one guy to anchor down that rotation. That is Freddy Peralta. Now, if Nolan breaks out and continues what he did over 8 games, over 32, you're laughing. You got 2 aces in that rotation, or 2 very valuable guys. And then you have guys like David Peterson, Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea, and don't forget about Kodai Senga. He's still a decent pitcher in his own right with that ghost ball. Like, those are now 4 pitchers there that you're happy to throw out 3, 4, 5, and then maybe 6 if they decide to do a 6-man. That's where you want them to be. You don't want those guys being the number 1, number 2. Now you got a deeper rotation, and a rotation that's set to go a full 162 and going deep into the playoffs. And yes, I know they did lose their guy in Edwin Diaz in that bullpen, but they added a lot of different guys that could give them options as dart throws. Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, 2 New York Yankees, by the way, Luis Garcia, and then again, you added Tobias Myers,
who could also start if you end up with a bunch of injuries. We don't know how the season's going to go, but like the fact that you have now the option in there, it's like, oh, okay, well, if we need him to start, if we want him to start, if we like what he's doing, then he could start, and we would be okay. Like, this to me looks so much more complete right now because you have your locked-in, sure thing, number one ace in Freddy Peralta, and then everybody falls in line after that. I mean, if Kodai Senga they're slotting him in as the 6 right now, that starts to look really stupid, man. That starts to look really, really stupid. And the crazy part is that this isn't even the strength of their team. This is now going to be a foundation, a pillar of their squad for sure, but the overall strength, why they're going to win a lot of games in 2026 is this offense. Yes, they lost Pete Alonso, and that is definitely a loss right there. But Bo Bichette, whilst he is a different player than Pete Alonso, could argue same level of offensive production. He's not going to hit as many home runs, but he's going to have 50 extra batting average points when it's all said and done, and probably 30 or 40 or 50 extra hits than Pete Alonso, right? So it kind of a trade-off right there. But this is a really strong addition to their team.
Yeah, and like knowing the Blue Jays as we do here, Blue Jay fans, like this guy was great with runners in scoring position last year, and Pete Alonso was that guy to drive in a lot of RBIs. And if they do set him up at that 3 spot, which honestly I kind of like, I like him being in that 3 spot, driving in Lindor and Juan Soto, who gets on base a shitload. And like he's a great addition. Yes, you paid a lot of money for him, but again, he has opt-outs. So if he does opt out, you get your value now, and you go try to win a ring this year. Then you add Jorge Polanco as well. This was kind of underrated, flew under the radar, and I did like this move because he was with the Mariners last year. He was very solid for them. Big year for him in that 4 spot, just lengthening the lineup. Yeah, they traded for Marcus Semien. He's probably on the back 9, but he originally was up in the 2 spot. Moving him down to the 5 or 6 or 7 or wherever he ends up going.
It starts to look a lot better.
Now it's looking better when you pair with the great defense. And then they go at this trade as well in the last couple of days. Louis Robert Jr. Now I know he hasn't been Louis Robert Jr. when he first came up, like exciting prospect, but you could argue there's some woes with the White Sox.
I think there's a cancer with the White Sox. I'm not like this will be the year to decide for me personally if I'm going to write him off or not write him off, because I think we can chalk up a lot of what's happened in the recent years to the White Sox are quite literally terrible. Yeah. Nobody wants to play for that organization. But now, no excuses. Yeah. Now you're with the team that's fully, it's quite literally a full 180 flip here. A team that invests nothing to a team that invests everything. So you have to imagine the motivation is going to be there for Louis Robert Jr. This is going to be a really telling season for me. But the fact of the matter is, there is still upside there.
Yes.
And we're talking about a guy in their 8th spot right now who, if you do see the resurgence, I mean, the sky's the limit. The ceiling is insane with Robert Jr. right here. And you're also not trading for him, putting him into a spot where he has to be that guy either. Right. So it's just simply an upside play right now for these New York Mets. That lineup to me, top 5 lineup in baseball.
Yeah, now it's looking very good. Top 5 in that rotation. Now I could convince myself that rotation is a better than average rotation.
Oh,
absolutely.
Definitely.
When fully healthy, like that rotation is all. Even if Noel McClain actually hits, like you're looking top 10, maybe top 8. Like you never know what the sky's the limit for this team. And now, with all that being said, I mean, you've got a team that is increasing their WAR. This was before they added, I believe, Robert Jr. Was it before Bo Bichette?
This was directly after the Cody Bellinger deal. So
okay,
this
right
would have been after Bo Bichette, and I think that would have been Louis as well. Would have been included. But this does not include the Freddy Peralta trade.
Right.
And I mean, you look at it right now, you got the New York Mets. This is currently projected WAR. This is by Fangraphs, okay? So this is where they are right now. They're 4th in all of baseball, but they're 0.6 WAR behind the Toronto Blue Jays. They just added Freddy Peralta, who had 5.5 WAR last year, and also Tobias Mayers. So the projected WAR is obviously very conservative, but I think that trade alone leapfrogs them likely 2 spots, and they're probably just behind the LA Dodgers right now in terms of total projected WAR on their team. Not a bad spot to be.
Yeah, that's very, very solid, and the Mets offseason has turned around completely. It's becoming an A. You could even, or maybe argue A+, maybe not A+ because you didn't sign back Pete Alonso, but still a very good A grading in my opinion. And now you look over at FanDuel where you got the wins like over under. I believe it is right over here. You got 90.5 for the over-under wins. That has jumped up remarkably. Where are you at? Where would you kind of project, and what would you take in this line right here?
I mean, I think I'd have to go over at this point. A couple weeks ago, I certainly wouldn't have been sure about 90.5 wins. I still liked the team, but they've definitely alleviated a lot of concerns for me. That pitching staff, all of a sudden, now it starts to look really deep, because here's the thing, I did like Clay Holmes, and I do like Kodai Senga. I just didn't like them as the number one or the number two.
Exactly.
And I do really like Nolan McLean as well, but it felt like a lot being like, oh, we're putting everything on you right now. Also, not to mention, they still have two really top tier prospects, pitching prospects, who are both due up this year, who've both pitched last year, who are due up this year. So are they going to come into play at some point? Maybe they could be a late season, reinforcement right there, and they have all the upside in the world. They've alleviated all the concerns for me, man. The lineup was never the problem, and they also improved the lineup as well. So, yeah, I think over.
Yeah,
I think over.
I would take over, and the lines are right now at negative 110. Like, they're right even. So I would be taking the over. I know like they only won like 80-ish games last year, but they made significant improvements. You're right. They've alleviated all my concerns. Everything I've worried about this New York Mets team from last season, from even the beginning of this offseason, all gone. The Mets are back. Now there's a lot of pressure on them like they had before. Do you think that they can have an actual legit chance to run and give the Dodgers a run for their money?
Right now, it feels like the two teams that could give them a run for their money, I guess, if you will, is Philadelphia and it's New York, right? So it's that team out of that division. Whoever wins that division will likely be the one squad that can rival the LA Dodgers. Obviously, things will change as the season goes on. We don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe San Diego's really good this year.
Milwaukee still does it somehow.
It's not impossible. They do it every year. So incredible coaching over there. But those feel like the two teams right now. But I really think that the onus, the responsibility, is on the New York Mets to be that squad right now. They're investing, I believe it's $350, maybe a little bit more than that, $1 million into their organization. It's slightly less than the LA Dodgers, well, slightly like $50 million, but still second most in baseball by a wide margin right there. So the onus, the responsibility is on that team to go and give LA a run for their money. That's why I think they're going to be over the 91 win total. You just can't invest $350 or $360 million into a ball team and get less than 90 wins. Yeah, that's the bare minimum floor. So I think they're going to be over the win total, and I do think they'll give them a run for their money. Are they going to do it? I don't know about that.
That's the craziest thing about today's baseball is, like, yes, you could have a phenomenal offseason, but you're going to have 4 phenomenal off seasons to even match what the Dodgers are doing this year. And by the way, if you even did that, Dodgers are going to be 4 amazing off seasons ahead of you now. So it's tough to really try to match the Dodgers on the roster standpoint. But again, like, anything can happen in the playoffs. All you got to do is get there. I believe this Mets team is built to get there and have a chance to do it. If they catch them off on a bad week, then you can have a chance to get them out. And that's what it takes, honestly. If the Dodgers have a bad week and you have a good week, you got a chance to win. That's what it needs to happen.
Dude, we keep telling ourselves that, and that is the truth.
It's true.
It's just
I mean, even the Blue Jays,
they don't have bad weeks.
The Blue Jays caught them on most of those players on a bad week, and they didn't do. And the Blue Jays run a great month. But anyways, I digress. Guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about this New York Mets offseason. Does this save it for you? And how far do you think they're going to get? And what's your over-under of the 90.5? Please hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.